Welcome. Happy New Year. Fantastic to see all the people here in the room. And there are more people than that on the Zoom. I don't know what that is, but there. There we go. For those of you on the Zoom, if you can rename yourself to your name and first name and or call sign. I just see maybe two, no, just one, just iPad. There we go. All right. I think we're all set. Thank you very much. And those of you in the room, the sign-up sheet went around, and David has it right here in the front. If you have not signed in, please do so. And we'll get things started with a pledge. So please rise as you're able, remove your covers, and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, you may be seated. Okay, is there anybody that's with us for the very first time tonight in the room? First time visitor? Put your hand down. Yes, sir. What's your name, call sign, and where are you from? K06LEO. All right. Okay, fantastic. Welcome. Glad to have you. What's that? And you paid your dues. Welcome. Fantastic. Any other first-time visitors? Okay. How about brand new hand? Did you just get your license or have you had it for a while? Fantastic. Well, congratulations. All right. I think I have something for you, so I'll come see you when we get started and hand you something. Let's see. Anybody online for the first time? I don't think so. I think I recognize everybody. K2RP, I haven't seen you in a little while.
Well, I was at the meeting last month, but not tonight.
All right.
This is the first time on Zoom for me.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, glad you found it, and hopefully nobody's trying to get into the old Zoom link because it changed. So for those of you here, the Zoom changed for this month and going forward because the old Zoom we don't have control over anymore. Zoom shenanigans. Okay. Membership. Glenn.
All right. For membership, we actually have 100 and I apologize for people who paid their dues back in early December, and I just got them entered into the database yesterday or Monday. Anyway, we have 142 members at the moment, and that's a good thing. That's all I got for membership. Dave, anything you want us to share about? Okay.
I was off giving away a flashlight. Okay, and are you covering technical in technical later? Technical report to be determined. Status of the club. So some business to note. We appointed all of the usual suspects to their usual positions at the December board meeting. The only change is going to be the trustee of the call sign is going to change from Michelle to me. The board suggested that we have the president, whoever's the current president, be the trustee, because that wasn't a voting member of the board anyways, so it just made sense to make that change. So the board is working on that paperwork right now, and that should be completed in the next week, in time for our renewal at the end of the month. Next month, February, is the birthday anniversary of the club. So we'll have a cake and some other celebration stuff going on for that. Any other board members have anything to share? Okay, any questions from the group? What's that? Oh, well, yeah, but we elected you last. Jim Wilson and Chris Baldwin are new to the board, which you elected last month at the general meeting. So Chris is suggesting that I reiterate that. And Chris, did you have something else you wanted to? You'll cover it when. The rest of the board is going to be talking during the time slots, so we'll let them talk when they talk. Are you doing Tech Corner now? Mark? Oh, you want to talk about next month's speaker? Okay, yes. And then you can turn it over to Mark.
So next month's speaker is he's going to be covering the basics of HF operating. So for the new hams out there, it'd be a great experience. And it's not just about the basics. What we've learned from Bruno and other presentations up here, even if you know everything about DX propagation, you probably don't. And so I think it'll be a good speech. I looked at the presentation. It looks very very well developed, and it covers everything, including the basics, obviously, but gets really into the details of the equipment. And I was very impressed by the fact he has a very modest station, and he is DXCC 289. So that's pretty impressive. So anyways, that's it.
I know I told you to turn over to Mark, but I changed my mind. Yep. I wanted to acknowledge two things. One is we had two. Watch your step.
I'll stand over here.
Stand over there. Okay. We had two donations toward the end of the year. One of them was Joe Ashley made a donation to the club, and another one was Patricia Harvey, who is not a member of the club, but her late husband Neil made she made on his behalf a whole bunch of donations through us to the Scouts of some equipment, radios, antennas, and monetary donations. So she made an additional donation at the end of December. And so we're just recognizing those donations. So thank you very much. We're going to be dedicating a plaque at the radio room at Balboa for the Scouts on Saturday, February 28th. The exact time to be determined. Patricia and maybe some of her family are going to come down to Balboa. I'll be there already with my daughter's pack doing camping for the weekend. So we'll have a little ceremony and take pictures and stuff. So it's great that we can support scouting through these means. All right.
Okay, we're gonna go back a few years at suggestions, because I quit doing it because nobody said anything. At the suggestion of a couple other people, we're going to start the Tech Corner back up again. And the Tech Corner is a 5-minute presentation, no longer than that, no questions. If you want to know anything about what the little slides are, ask me after the presentation. We're going to start doing this every month between the main presentation and when Joe finishes. So let's do it right now. This month is going to be the difference between OLEDs and LCDs. I'm sure some of you guys who know your way around that you know all this. It's no big deal. All right, so the difference between an organic LED or OLED and a LCD is that OLEDs are LEDs and they generate light on their own. An LCD does not generate light on its own. It has to have a backplane behind it. In the old days, they were actually small fluorescent tubes called cold cathode fluorescents. In the modern days, they used to use an array of white LEDs along the edges. And now they've gotten even really fancy on the LCD TVs, and they use red, green, and blue colored LEDs, an array of them. And in order to get the darks darker, they actually turn off the LEDs on night scenes and things like that and dim them down. All right, so anyway, I just did the explanation of what an OLED is. And years ago, when I was head of research and development over at CareFusion, they gave me an $80,000 digital microscope. And so I was taking pictures of everything I could, fingerprints and, Formica tabletops, you name it. So I had an Android phone and the company made me carry an iPhone, which was an LCD phone. So it turns out that if you generate about 1,000 power magnification, you can see I did it in 2017. You can see in the upper left corner, that what you have now is you have all these little colored LEDs, and I can't read the 50 micrometers between the 50 micrometers between the two colors, between two adjacent greens. So that's the dot pattern of, that was actually a Samsung S4 or something like that back in the day. Anyway, main thing to note there is, just like an LED flashlight, they generate their own light. They use transparent traces and a black background behind them, which is why tablets like these, you can put a camera behind it, light up the LEDs, all red, green, and blue. That happens to be, by the way, white. I just zoomed in so much you can see the individual LEDs. Anyway, and you can put your thumbprint down and the camera can shoot between the LEDs in the black areas and get your thumbprint through the screen. That's also why a lot of them now, you can put a camera underneath the OLED screen, which you can't do with an LCD. So organic light emitting diode, it's usually just a plastic polymer sheet and they silk screen this stuff on it. That particular picture I took at CES a few years back. They were trying to demonstrate that OLEDs are foldable. Now, on the other hand, an LCD does not generate light. It's a filter. And in a minute, we're going to look at the layers that make up this filter, which is the last slide, by the way. We're going to look up the layers that make this filter and how you can get colored light out of it. For whatever it's worth, there's a little tiny thing in the center and it's the same spacing. It's 50 micrometers. So liquid crystal requires a light source behind the display. The way it works is they found a material called a liquid crystal, and you can fire polarized light through it. And the more voltage that you run through the polarized light, it actually twists the polarization. So imagine that you've got an HT with an antenna sticking up that's vertical. This liquid crystal, if you turn it all the way up, will actually twist that 90 degrees and give you horizontal polarization out of it. Last slide. I've been told that I'm almost out of time. Sorry about you folks on Zoom. So what they've got is a light source back here, a diffuser that's also a polarizer. In this case, it's a horizontal polarizer. Then they've got the liquid crystal. They don't twist it at all. They twist it 45 degrees and they twist it a good solid 90. Then they run it through some colored filters and then through a vertical polarizer. And in this particular instance, that doesn't get twisted at all, so none of the blue comes through. Half the green comes through and the red comes through at full power. That's how an LCD works. Did I make it?
100%. Literally.
All right, I'll turn it over to the next speaker. Microsoft shot me in the head, so my one introduction slide, which is only one page. We thought that in January, we might actually attempt to let a lot of you guys know that there's a second secret little club of people that do things all the time. And so we'd let you in on this group that's spending all of their weekends and some of their evenings and everything else building all of the infrastructure, or in some cases fixing it. So what? And breaking it. We won't mention any names on the breaking antennas lately. Funny, the only guy that you screwed up is the one that's not complaining at all. Anyway, he wanted to fix the 6-meter antenna, so he put the tower down and pulled the coax out of the bottom of the 915 antenna. So he did what any good ham would do. He bought a brand new antenna system and he's going to install it all from scratch on his own dime. Probably this Sunday.
Yeah, there was a slack issue in the tower. It's a folding tower.
Nobody. Yeah, nobody left a service loop at the bottom, and when he lowered the tower, it ripped the coax out of the connector. And by the way, then about, I don't know, about a pint of water came out of the connector. He was sitting there going, watch this. And he was squeezing it and watching the water drain out of the coax. Okay, so anyway, we're going to do something a little new tonight.
So which slide deck do you need next?
Let's see. The next one is going to be, Chris, you have your slide deck? You don't have one? You're all now off every night. Yeah, go to, that one's going to be Glenn, and he'll be like the second. So just leave it because, all right. So what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to try and take every January and do a full update of everything that has happened and is going to be happening at our repeater site. And we ended up with a new storage facility, which Chris is in charge of facilities now, so he can go into that. And just let everybody know the status of the club in general. So I'm supposed to be MC tonight. And first up is facilities.
Okay, well, I'll let you operate that since that's your forte there. My name's Chris Baldwin, calls KF6AJM. I live over in Vista. I got my license from this club 30 years ago in 1995, so it's kind of special to me. Been absent for a while, decades, 20 years, but I'm back here to help. So I am your club secretary and also your facilities and site guy. So I take care of the storage facility and the non-repeater stuff up on the mountaintop. Mark does the repeater stuff, and we commingle quite a bit. So we recently had to relocate our storage facility, which was over in Escondido off of Valley Parkway, and it was starting to get more and more expensive. And obviously, being a nonprofit, frugality is a key here with this. So Joe got us set up with another storage facility, which is over in Vista off Vista Village Drive, which is bigger and cheaper and walking distance from my house. Wasn't planned that way, but I sure didn't complain. So, yes, sir. Right. Thank you. So one thing that's critical for this storage facility is our vacuum tube bank. And we are one of the few places still around that has a tube bank. So if you want to make deposits into the tube bank, make withdrawals from the tube bank, we just offer or ask for a donation to the club for any withdrawals that you make. But get in touch with us if you're restoring an antique radio or something and you need a tube. We have an inventory of what's there. We can get you set with John Quivinen, WB6IQS, and it's there. And we all mutually agreed. There was some discussion about, well, maybe we should close the tube bank. And I know Mark and myself and a few other folks were very resistant to that. So we still have it. It's still around. Please let other folks know. I mean, they don't necessarily have to be a club member to make a deposit or a withdrawal from the bank, but we do appreciate a donation to the club for. Yep, we got a withdrawal request for 5 pre-World War II tubes out of the tube bank, and we had them. So those were able to get homed into a radio and go back in service. So if you know anybody that needs that sort of service. We're sitting on thousands of tubes, folks. I'm not sure exactly how many, but there's a lot. And that storage facility is primarily there to keep those tubes around. So if you need it, it's there. Let folks know, pass the word. So the other thing is we've been very, very busy up on Mount Palomar. If you aren't aware, the club owns its own property up on the mountaintop. Oh, there it is right there. See, that's exactly what it looks like too. No, definitely not. Yeah, it's a lot of tubes. It's a lot of tubes, but again, there's not a lot of places still doing that. So we own our own radio site up on Palomar Mountain, and we have for decades and decades and decades. We do not rent space in someone else's building for our repeaters. We own that space. And as such, coming with that space is all of the maintenance that it requires. So we have multiple buildings, almost all of which are conversions from other things. There's a shed and a freezer and a building that's partially subterranean, and they all require maintenance. The site needs to be cleaned up after the winter and have things mulched and raked and things tightened up and paint put on buildings. And right now, I know we have a fascia board on the battery bank that faces to the, what about the southwest? That needs to be replaced. I do the best I can, but I am not the most mechanical person, and you do not want me with any sort of saw in my hand or even a pocket knife for that matter. But I can fix your radio, but I can't touch that stuff. So if anyone's interested in getting involved, and you'll hear more about this from the other gentlemen that are going to come up and present tonight, this is not an elitist group of people that don't want help. Absolutely not. This is an elitist group of people that want your help. So if you're interested in getting involved in doing things up on the mountain, supporting the club, listen, what it boils down to at the end of the day is this thing's only going to last as long as there's participation. And I don't know if anybody caught me on the radio. I went through every repeater in our club inventory and put a QST out about the meeting tonight. Did anybody hear that? Okay. And I also I made an adjustment to the website and said, hey, if you can come out here in person, and I realize not everybody can come out here in person. Some folks aren't driving anymore these days or have other commitments or whatnot. So we've got the Zoom. But coming out here and investing the time and effort to support the club in person, you know, the banter and camaraderie between members is always great. You get to meet new folks. Incoming hams get a sense of fellowship and welcoming into a group of what is now their peers. And I think it's important that we perpetuate that. So I really appreciate this is a great turnout tonight, comparatively speaking. So I thank each one of you for coming out tonight. One thing Mark and I had talked about, Mark and I have spent hours on the phone in the last couple of weeks, and Joe as well and I'm going to ask a question of you guys. And I'm getting off topic with talking about the club, but this is something that's important to me, so I wanted to bring it up. What level of technical information do you, the participant in the club, want to see? I mean, when people get into formulas and math and the nitty-gritty technical stuff, just folks, I know you, Henry. Come on now. Do you guys just glaze over, or is this the kind of thing that you come here for? I mean, who here wants to see the nitty-gritty technical details of things? And yeah, that I would like to see, and I know I'm playing president here, and that's not my intent, but as an employee of Joseph Peterson Enterprises, I'd like to see 2026 be the year that this club really comes back and makes a name for itself in the ham community in general. I want us to be the place that people come to when they want to nerd out, not learn how to use their radio in an emergency situation. Got it. Great. Folks online want to see it too. There's plenty of places you can go, plenty of clubs and organizations for CERT and preppers that are focused on that. And I'm not saying that's not important. It's critical, absolutely. But we can't all focus on the same thing and survive. So I'd love to see the club not only maintain that focus with CERT and emergency preparedness, but also, you know, we have a number of very smart engineers in this room right now. And you'll get your chance. Calm down. I'm talking. We have a number of very smart engineers in this room, some of which you probably are, and we don't know it. So if you want that level of geeking out and nerding out, and I know Henry's sitting there going, we'll give it to you. And Mark and I talked about that, and I said, let's just lay it out and see what happens. So that's where I'm at. So I would love to see you up on Palomar Mountain. We are going this Sunday If you're interested in joining us, it'll get back around to Mark. Mark loves to make the plans as to where to meet and everything, so I'll let him do that. But Mother's Kitchen, 10 a.m. You can also email board@palomararc.org. But here you go. This Sunday, Mother's Kitchen, top of Palomar Mountain. If you don't know where that is, shame on you. We've all been up there. At 10 a.m. And we just meet in the parking lot and then caravan to the site, which is 5 minutes away. It's a good time. If nothing else, you'll get to see where all this stuff lives.
May I ask? May I make a comment?
By God, we've got a picnic table and we're going to use it. Okay. Where's that? John, talk to me.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be a dissenting voice, respectfully. The club used to be able to appeal to people of all different kinds of things that we would do, and it began to fall apart after a while. I tried a great big simplex exercise just to practice using our individual radios on simplex. Joe will remember this. Joe and Ashley, and everybody all canceled out before the thing started, and it sort of limped along. We had a good time, but I would like to see more emphasis on using the radio between husbands and wives, or using the handheld for community service, getting out there and finding things we can do to help out on the street, or whatever can be done for the Chamber of Commerce, or whatever types of things like that. I would really hate to see the club go completely strictly tech. I think you'd lose an awful lot. Now, okay. I have great respect for the tech people. Mark is a good friend, so is Joe. That's just a comment to add some contrast.
Okay, and John, and I agree with you entirely. I may have not been 100% clear, but I think we should keep doing what we're doing, but dump the tech emphasis onto things as well. But you brought up an excellent point, which is a talking point I'd forgotten about, which I want to say, and then I'm gonna get off my soapbox here. Folks, turn your radios on. How many people out there have a radio sitting on one of our repeaters routinely? That's a few hands. I got out every day last week almost on every repeater and threw my call sign out on the way home, and it was silent. I challenge you to turn your radios on. Challenge. Put one in your car. Nobody uses that anymore, of course, because nobody's putting them in their cars.
Well, how about having a net for just our own club and then a chat room after it? We don't have any such thing. We use the San Diego area's net as our net. But if we have our own, and people get used to communicating with each other at a certain time every week, it would be fine.
I think that's a good idea. Well, you know what? We could go off into the weeds with improvements we can make, and these are all valuable opinions and valid opinions, and I agree with all of them. I don't want to take up too much time with this. I want to give it back to the modernization team, which was the whole purpose of this, but I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to say what was on my mind, which I think hopefully benefits most of us. And I could use your help up at the radio site with facilities and whatnot. So if you're interested in getting involved with that, please see me. I'll stick around for a bit after the meeting, tell you whatever you want to do. Or whatever you want to know, we'll go from there. So I thank you for your time, and back over to you, Mark.
Okay. Later this year, when the weeds grow up again, I will bring the large wood chipper back up again. And Glenn was the guy last time that kept it from catching on fire because we were throwing wood chips onto the top of the muffler. Oops. Anyway, yeah, we have a great time up there. So it'd be terrific if any of you guys, and by the way, you know, we're easy to get hold of. You can send it to board@Palomar ARC. Glenn will get it. You can send it at AI6RR. He'll get it. You can send it at membership. He'll get it. So anyway, and like I said, we do have that project coming up where we're going to have to replace the fascia on the battery building. We already got the wood. So it's just me bringing saws up there and enough manpower to get the job done. Okay, the next part of this is going to be all of the different projects that we're in the middle of. Most of them have to do with the modernization. The first one was the trials and tribulations of getting another 70-foot, 2-foot tower put onto the property. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Glenn.
Okay, hopefully that's showing for you guys at on Zoom. Okay. Well, I know I shared some stuff about the modernization program, and it really started back in 2021. And what it started with, so in 2021, a tower became available, and Mark immediately went to take it down. It was still on someone else's property at the time, but it was on Palomar Mountain. All right, so actually that was the day it was detached from the mounting thing, and we pulled it up with a chain up the hill, as Mark said, and they got loaded on the trailer. At that point, I think I had heat stroke and dehydration, and somebody gave me a ride off the mountain. And then we got it over to the repeater site. And at one point we decided, well, I think at this point we understood that the ADRC had a bunch of money, and they were ARDC, and okay. And Charlie NN3V, Silent Key, had an idea that we should apply for a grant and modernize the PARC site and club. And so we submitted a request, and it was turned down. And so we went back and did a second one. And so that meant we had to start planning it. And one of the things was where to put this tower that we had acquired. And that was where we're going to put it. Okay, so this started the next part of this was our property is 0.38 acres. It's a small one. The current zoning says you can't have a property up there less than 4 acres. I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, they changed it from nothing specified to being 2 acres. Well, by the time we applied for our permit with our plan, it was 4 acres, and we don't have that. But anyway, we went down to the planning department, and they said, no, you can't do that. And one of the things you have to do is prove that it was a legal parcel. And so I made a couple of trips down to the recorder's office, and then Kevin volunteered and went down with me to search more through deeds, trying to find something prior to 1962, I believe was the date, that showed that that was a legal property. And that was when we got back into the deeds, where it was just a microfiche page of the logbook out of the recorder saying no order to it, no sequence. Anyway, we finally found a deed that covered the needs. Went back to the recorder's office a number of times, and then back to the planning department. We actually submitted our plans, I think, in 2021. And a year later, we finally got approval. And so we didn't want to build our steel ourselves, so we ordered that. Someone said that, hey, if you do that, then the inspector looks at it and says, oh, this was commercial built, you're good. And we got it up to the site, parked it there for a while. We excavated the hole back in July of this year, I believe. And, July of 2025, we excavated the hole. It's about 9.5 feet deep and a little over 5 feet by 5 feet. Placed the steel into it and built up the forms for it, put the anchor bolts for the tower, and the base is there just so it all aligns well. Poured concrete. It took about 12 yards of concrete, or about 48,000 pounds. And there it was ready to have after a few days, have the wood pulled off, and then we can move on with stuff. Yes. I'd rather not. Oh, okay, briefly. We got up there the morning of pouring the concrete, and I looked down in the hole just to make sure we hadn't had any little cave-ins, and there's a poor little mouse laying in the bottom dead. So we named him Little Jimmy Hoffa. Yeah. So, and none of us wanted to, thought it would be safe to climb down. So he's still there. I don't think they'll find him. Rich went up with us and we chain hoist the tower over to the base and got it hooked up so that it could be tilted up, which these guys, Rich Obert and James, did what, last weekend? 2 weekends ago. And it's now upright. The next thing we have to do is put a grout underneath the base plate, and we have to pass our final inspection. And then after that, we can start on the stuff that Chris is contributing to now big time, is remove a tree and other limbs. And then we can do the, we need to build, we're building an antenna tilt plate for the antenna. Rich is going to do that for us. And we're putting a DB18 beam on it. It's 40 through 6 meters. And then we put it all together and put it to use. And that's it. Okay.
Good job, everyone.
This project requires the modernization project that we got the money from ARRL also requires that we perform certain tasks. One of them is to set up a remote HF station that you can operate through the internet from down the mountain. And it was no internet up there. So then the other thing is to set up some SDRs as a development lab. And the SDRs were to be able to go out and do student outreach and scouts and that kind of thing. So one of the things, I happen to live up in Valley Center, which is a microwave-based internet system. So I got hold of the owner of Valley Center Wireless and said, hey, we're a nonprofit and we're poor and I already pay you money anyway. So he went up and threw a dish up there for us and set up internet for free so far. The plan is that one of these days he's gonna charge us for it, but it's been up there, what, about 2 years? And he's conveniently forgotten that it's up there. So now I got to hit him up for more bandwidth and still have him forget that we're not paying anything. So the next discussion, James, is going to be on the internet and all of the craziness that we're going through with VPNs and all that other stuff. You ready? I don't have this deck.
I don't have a deck.
Oh,
So yes, you have my deck. Yes, exactly.
So I can go away.
Yes, you can go away. You're welcome to stay though. So it'd be really nice if we could just simply set up a simple configuration up there and have it accessible down here. But anybody that's used a Flex radio knows that it requires a little bit more configuration than that. So we have several different systems we're playing with right now. One of them is a VPN over WireGuard, which allows us to connect up there and have full access to it. And remotely, that's been one of the more reliable setups. And we also have a PC using a remote PC, which allows you to transmit your sounds back down here to the valley or wherever you are in the world. And that one is working well as it can be. And we're able to contact people. I've probably made, I don't know, 30, 40 voice contacts and a couple hundred, embarrassingly, FT8 contacts. By the way, about me, I have more FT8 contacts than I care to admit. So it's a little problem for myself. I'll have to go through the addiction counseling for that. And on the other side of it, we have so we have the remote PC, we have the VPN, and then the smart SDR. So we're still troubleshooting the smart SDR. We're having some packet loss and discussions about that. And I believe that's through LA. We're having issues in Los Angeles, probably an ISP problem, and we're troubleshooting that. But overall, the system is well on its way. We don't think there's any problems with the wireless link that Mark got us, but other issues. So I will say on the SDR front, they're accessible today by everybody, and you can use them as your receive radio, and you can transmit out down here on the valley. So if you have any questions about that, I mean, the valley as in the entire San Diego, right? It's not really a valley, but you can receive up there and then have it come down here, and you can do that over FT8, PSK, Feldhell, all those mediums. So you can have the benefits of being up on the mountain and having low RF interference, and then you can transmit out from down here. And I found that a very workable solution. So if you're interested in how to do that, but if you haven't got an HF yet, I recommend connecting up those, and Jim will speak more about this, but those SDRs and using them. We can hear people from all over the place. There's nets every day almost, but particularly on Sundays on 40 meters in San Diego and stuff. So I think that's about it. I probably didn't cover everything, Mark, but anything else? If you're a network engineer, I was a network engineer before TCP/IP was invented. That's when I started out. So not before it was invented, but before it was in use, basically. Novell 312. Actually, the first one, this is why I cut my teeth, is on 212. Anyways, but I am not up to date on networking like that. So if there's a network engineer in the house, a Unix administrator, we would welcome your assistance and expertise on this. So yeah, and if you sound like you're interested in batteries and stuff like that, we wired up a BMS, and we need to change the wires out for thicker wires and do a wire management system, which I'm obviously horrible at wire management systems, but I welcome your help up there. And about every quarter, I water the batteries and stuff. And it seems like a simple task, but it needs to be done. And so if you want to come up there and help, and I also say too, on top of that mountain, I love it up there. You get to travel all the way from San Diego all the way to Sierra Nevadas in one afternoon. So, all right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Our next sucker. I think, Bruno, you're up next, right? We're making it up as we go along. All right. So what Bruno's going to be talking about, or what I asked him to discuss, is what makes flex radios unique amongst HF.
I'm an exception. I'm a volunteer. I'm not a member of the exec club, whatever it is. I'm a pure volunteer helping everybody out. I've been doing it for a while, but I'm not getting paid for doing that. So thanks a lot. All right. So my specialty essentially, my name is Bruno, W4AFK. Yes, I have a 4 call because I was transferred to Florida. I changed call signs, but my remote HF station is still there. So I kept the 4 call sign. My wife has a W6 GVH, but I changed mine. So I just left it the way it is. My specialty is HF systems, remote systems, control, management, and stuff like that. I do that professionally also with the company that I work with essentially. So what I want to do here is it's a simple presentation, a few slides. We have a flex radio up on a mountain, and the flex radio essentially is working. We're tweaking things to it. What he mentioned before, what James mentioned before about doing data and voice, there's a lot more stuff that we're able to do with it too. So let me just do this here. All right, so it's simple. Start off with my responsibilities. Offer hams the ability to remotely operate from 75, 80 meters all the way up to 6 meters. And I'll explain to you the antennas we have up there now. As you heard before, the tower is up, but there's no DB18, but we have antennas up there running now for the receivers or our transmitters, and I'll explain that. Helping set up and configure the Flex 6400 for remote operation using Smart SDR, and it's updated to the current version that we had that's out there now. Setting up and configuring the HF antennas. For 75 and 80 meters, we have an end-fed, which works great. It's configured for NIVIS, which means for regional communications, 400 kilometers to be able to talk to, everybody. I get in there every evening, and I have QSOs. There's no problem. We also could operate on 60 meters using that antenna. Then we have, on a mountain, we have 2 R8 vertical antennas, an old one that's kind of rusted and a newer one but they both need tender loving care. For the time being, we're using those to transmit from 40 meters to 6 meters, essentially. It works fine. It's a vertical. A little oddities from time to time because they're old and there's some corrosion, but that's some of the stuff we've got to work on, essentially. And evidently, we talked about before, we're going to put a DB18 up on top once everything is ready to be able to put the antenna up on top of the mountain. So current capabilities with the radio. If you install Smart SDR on your computer and it's free, configure it and you'll be able to access it directly, very simply, very easily. We have a little issue now with one of the ISPs. It's tied to UDP packets, but we have an issue we're trying to resolve. Once that's resolved, it's pretty easy. You start it up, you run it, you're connected to it, and then you control the whole radio up from your home. Very easy. Part of my job is to help people too. So when we start opening it up to people, if they need help, I will be able to join you at the same time and explain and share with you how to get it to work. SDRs are different. It's not like a traditional radio, but once you get a hang of it, it's pretty easy afterwards. Now, what I wrote in green, they started talking about it before. One of the shortcomings we have now is we don't have a front end. In other words, anybody could connect to it, but we don't have anything to validate the user, schedule. You know, if 50 people want to operate the same day, you can't all do it. We have to have scheduling. If somebody likes to program, wants to have fun, and like me, wants to be a volunteer, we'd really need the help of somebody to write some code on the front end to be able to do that. So in other words, logging in, scheduling and validations and stuff like that. We're going to help with everything else, but we'd like to have that. And evidently, we need somebody to do software. I'm not a software person, so I can't write that code. So that's one of the things that I wanted to mention here too, which is help that we need to be able to have. Okay. On the right-hand side is the screen, the normal Flex radio screen when you log on. It's wide because I've got a wide monitor, but essentially you would see it there. This here shows a setup operating analog voice using SmartLink on 20 meters USB, and I'm using antenna 1, which is the vertical, the R8. We have 2 antennas we could switch to. We're using that one now. So this just shows you the ability of doing that with the R8 antenna. The next one is to show you other applications you could install on your computer. This is called FR Stack. It's free. What it does, it works with the software Flex and gives you more capabilities. You could see, for example, the temperature of the final, the Viswar. There's a lot of additional information. You could pick your frequencies, choose and click to it. So that's another application to do it. I'm showing this to show that once you have it installed on your computer at home, you can add these things to it and do other things also. Now, this is something that's interesting. I've been playing a lot with this. James talked about doing voice calls. I do digital voice calls. And this is extremely interesting. On the next slide, I'll see how it comes out on the audio. You install a free software package called FreeDV, and there are specific frequencies where you're transmitting, and the quality of the voice is like I'm sitting in front of you. But I'm talking to people in Florida from here, and it's coming out clear. It's another mode. It's digital voice, essentially. It's more and more popular now. It's a free application, and people are doing it, and there are specific frequencies. On the right-hand side, you see a waveform of the people talking on it. And by the way, I was making contacts with just 40 watts, so I don't need to have a lot of power. It's digital, so the conditions are good, it's good. If it's bad, there's nothing. There's no in between. But when it works, and a lot of time it does, it's pretty good. And as a matter of fact, if you look on top on the right-hand side, I don't want to leave the microphone. The signal that was coming in, which we'll hear afterwards, was coming at S3, just above the noise level. So it's pretty good at picking up the audio. So let me see if this is going to work. I'm going to try something here to see if this is going to work. No, it won't work. Okay. What I did here is that I captured the audio on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side was the screen. So on the left-hand side, this is a conversation going on, and I can't do it now here, but typically you could hear the audio. And on the right-hand side is what you would see on the Flex radio screen, essentially. And the bandwidth is, we're doing transmitting audio, and we're doing it within 1 or 2 kilohertz wide maximum, which is more efficient than running regular SSB voice. And now I know James was apologizing for using FT8 before. This is digital too, but this is really, I'm talking to somebody here. I'm chatting with somebody. And by the way, FT8 is a contest mode, but there's also the other mode, which essentially lets you use the same waveform, but chat with people. I do that. So, yeah, that's a JS8 call, essentially. That lets you chat, so it's reliable too. So those that don't want to do contesting, essentially, they could do it that way too. I'm showing this because this is some of the stuff you could do up on a mountain. And just today, you just run the software, do it, configure it, and then you could have a lot of fun with that. Imagine now when we, okay. Right, you didn't hear, okay, well, okay, it's hard, it's not popped up. That was the audio. Okay, it's not very clear for you guys out there, but I'm listening to that person. That person's in Florida, and I'm talking to him as like I'm talking to you here, essentially, with that. The next one was simply to show when that was happening at the same time, you could see the waveform. And the waveform, after a while, you recognize the waveform when you look at it. You can say, oh, that's digital audio by just seeing that type of waveform. This. When you see that pattern, you know exactly what it is when you play with it. It's like FT8, you could see all the waterfalls coming in. Okay, this is something that James uses a lot. JTDX, in other words, to do FT8 communications. You could use this application to be able to do it. I do a different thing with that. I use Whisper, WSPR. I run our system at 5 watts as a beacon when nobody else is using it to see who in the world is listening to us. Then I could see, oh, wait a minute. I'm in Palomar Mountain with this antenna and they're hearing me in Australia. They're hearing me in Antarctica at the lowest power at 5 watts. So I use it as a beacon and I try to see who's hearing me. It also tells me what paths are open for communication, essentially. And that's all doable with that free software called JTDX. Now, I wanted to say also that's important, 60 meters, you know, there's a change in FCC rules for 60 meters. We're going to have a small segment that's going to be opened up. The flex radio is going to be modified for that. Once the FCC gives a green light, we'll update the flex. But as of now, we could actually operate on 60 meters, which for emergency measures is important because that frequency is used a lot when there's an emergency because it's great for communications, NIVIS, local, and you have public safety that are in those frequencies too. They're operating it. So by using antenna 2, the wire antenna, we tune it. The flex radio has a built-in tuner, and the VisWire in all of our system, nothing is more than 3-to-1. So the tuner inside the flex is able to manage to tune it as it is now. So I could go on any of the channels, and they're programmed into the radio. I could go into it, and I could make communications on that. There's a little thing I wanted to show you here, what I wrote at the bottom. If you could see this. For those that are not aware, if you're doing HF, and all of a sudden you hear like a sweep crossing. Listen to that and you'll notice that around 20 seconds later, there'll be a second one. Those are iono sounds. These are stations, government stations that are transmitting signals, sweeping a frequency band twice, and they're receivers, and the receivers are logging the strength. So they're actually plotting the ionosphere. So, and you know that it's ionosound because it's going to, you'll see always 2 tracks, one, and the second one will be about 20-25 seconds later. You'll see a second one lower in intensity. I know that because some of our radios are being used for that. But these sweep essentially going across. I mentioned that because as I was doing this test, I saw the sweep come in. So I was like, I might as well just capture it and tell people what those 2 are. Because a lot of people I heard on the air to say, what's this sweeping sound I'm hearing popping, going across? That's what it is essentially. They're doing for ionosphere testing, checking. That was it. I didn't want to spend a lot more time on it, but the bottom line is that the radio is working now. We have a glitch with the losing some audio packets. Once that's fixed, we could use it. We could open it for people, everybody now, but we need a front end. We need some way to be able to manage who's going to access it and what rights they have to have for it. Sorry? Yeah, the reservation system to be able to do it. You know, I'd love to do it, but I'm not. And you're not a software designer. You're in hardware, right?
Hi, my name is Jim Watson. I'm K2VO. I am the club treasurer. Poor guys. And I'm also on the modernization team. Mainly what I'm doing is the STEM lab is what we call it. That's and what it does is basically try to use SDRs to provide remote access to SDR assets on the hill which give us access to great antenna positioning. So these resources are free. They're open through the internet. You can, anybody who can get to the site can actually use them. And we encourage you to go ahead and try and use them, see what they can do. They're continually updating the software, and hopefully, we can get a lot of use of them. There's some pretty nice SDRs. They're receive only at this point because we don't have any way to do transmit without blowing things up. We use them for familiarization and education. That's the main goal. The software that's up there supports all the voice modes that you're familiar with, and it supports actually a ton of digital modes. So we can access them with a web browser. You don't need to install any software, which is one of our main goals. We wanted to make this as easily accessible as we possibly could. So for the SDR hardware, we tried to use inexpensive SDRs. These things start at around $40, which is not too bad. We also are using inexpensive computers, Raspberry Pis in this case, at the moment. And the software-defined radios that we're using an AirSpy HF Plus Discovery, 2 of those, which gives us nice HF coverage. We have a Kiwi SDR. I don't know if anybody, a lot of people probably already know what that is. It gives us great HF coverage. And we use some RTL SDR blog version 3 and 4 devices. Those will be used on VHF and UHF. They're not active at the moment. We also have a FlightAware Pro Stick and a Pro Stick Plus, which is for ADS-B. We wanted to do some playing with that. That's kind of an interesting and fun thing to play with. And we have a Pluto SDR, which is basically it's an educational tool put out by Analog Devices. And it's not online at the moment, but it starts at about 325 megahertz. So it's a little less useful for the equipment and the antennas that we have up there right now. We also have a B&Q Station G2, a Mestastic base station, which is a very low power LoRa protocol message system that's meant for off-grid communications. It's offline at the moment. Yeah, we've had storm damage and perhaps some vandal activity. So the STEM lab, we've separated it into 2 sections. One is basically the HF bench, which is up and running at this point. And then what we call the experimentation bench, which is meant for VHF, UHF, and above. That's not operational at the moment. I hope to have that up on the mountain fairly soon. Part of the reason is because we didn't have an antenna. We were waiting for the tower for that. Okay. The Kiwi SDR looks like this when you get to it. It's a very small box, maybe, that big. This is an example of the Kiwi running at 40 meters. It looks somewhat similar to what you saw with the Flex, which is kind of neat. The nice thing about the Kiwi is it covers the entire HF band simultaneously, which is really cool. And it can have about 4 simultaneous users using it, and they won't interfere with each other. So it's a really neat thing to take a look at. It also covers all of the audio modes that you're used to and quite a few digital modes. Not as many as some of the others, but it's pretty good. A great tool. Now, the AirSpy HF Plus Discoveries SDRs are using OpenWebRx Plus, which is a software server, SDR server application, which is actually pretty advanced. It handles all of the audio modes and really a ton of digital modes. So it's really, really a useful piece of gear. That also, in both cases, the Kiwi and these other SDRs, you access those straight through the web browser. Nothing has to be installed. Okay. And this is what you'll get. Okay, a little bit about the devices themselves, the AirSpy HF. They cover the HF band. They're known for excellent fidelity, particularly for audio listening. They can also cover 60 to 260 megahertz, but the ones I have up there, we have a filtering, so it won't cover the for us. Yeah, that's one of the things that when the flex goes off on HF, we don't want it to burn out the SDRs because they're pretty close. So we have an active multi-coupler that filters and doesn't let us go outside the HF band. Now, there's some others. The RTL SDR blog is known, well known. Those devices can cover from about 500 kilohertz to 1766 megahertz. So they're really cheap. They're about $40. We're planning on having 2 of them up there for VHF and UHF. Again, these will also be accessed through OpenWebRx servers, again, through your web browser. Kiwi SDR, talked a little bit about that. It's actually an SDR cape, which is stuck on top of a BeagleBone Black single board computer. So the nice thing about that is that it is a network connected computer. It has its own built-in server. You saw a picture of that earlier, and it's just a really nice little device. It covers from about 10 kilohertz to 32 megahertz. Does some pretty nice decoding as well. And it's a highly configurable device. As I said before, it can handle up to 4 simultaneous users. Okay. Okay, we also have a couple of FlightAware SDRs. They're kind of like RTL SDR blog devices, but they're tuned for ADSB. So we wanted to play with some of that, ADSB and UAT, which is the airband devices. So you can track aircraft, and the OpenWebRx will handle that as well. So when we get the VHF section up there, that should give us some the aircraft coverage. And we have a Pluto SDR. It's a kind of a specialty device. It was meant for education. It's produced by Analog Devices. It starts from about 325 megahertz, goes to 3.8 gigahertz. We have no antennas that provide us any of that coverage. And it can also actually transmit, but we didn't want to do any transmission at this point. So I don't have the plans for that one at this moment. We had a lot of discussion about what to do with it, but we haven't decided on anything just yet. We also have as I said before, the Mestastic node, which is kind of a neat little thing. It uses LoRa. It transmits at 1 watt, and we get some pretty decent coverage. We've had contacts all the way up to Long Beach from Palomar Mountain, and basically pretty much anywhere in South County. So our node name is PARC W6NWG, and there's a friend of mine that donated the hardware for it for the club. So. I'm sorry? Access that, gotta go to. No. See, the node name is PARC W6NWG. Yeah, you need to have your own Mestastic node. Yeah, to talk to each other. Yeah. No, this is all off grid. Strictly mesh communications. Accessing the STEM lab. If you go to the PARC website, up at the top is a menu, and you can see I haven't circled in red. It says PARC STEM. Those are actually buttons. If you click that, it will take you to the landing page for our website, our STEM website. And all the information essentially is on this website. And you can click around. There's information about the SDRs, about all the different modes, how to operate the things, the Kiwis. These boxes here, you see a button on the end. It says available. You can click on those and it will take you to connect you to the SDR on the mountain. So either the Kiwi or one of the two Air Spies, and you'll be using what's called OpenWebRx Plus for those, except for the Kiwi. It's a similar to it, but it's their own thing. So, okay. And I know the blue is really ridiculous to see. Anyway, just some references.
Now, me being the hardware guy, most of those SDRs, in case you guys are curious, only have 2 chips in them. And they look like a little memory stick. And what they are is the first chip is the digital tuner out of a TV set. And that allows you to pull is it 3.6 megahertz or 360 kil? I think it samples at 3.6 megahertz. And then you get a little, no, it's what? No, the oscillator that feeds the A to D converter. What's the frequency of it? Yeah. Anyway, and then you get you get a little fraction of that because, Nyquist is less than half, but yeah. Anyway, and then that feeds a USB chip with a little bit of IO in it and an A to D converter. So you got this TV tuner chip that feeds an A to D converter that's got USB output, and it's got a little bit of IO to control the TV tuner chip. And that's what's in those things, which is why you can get them for like $30. Anyway, done. That's the end of the presentations for this evening. That's an idea of what the club is doing actively. If any of you guys want to join us fellow slaves up on the mountain, I'll give you a free bottle of water. That's about all I can offer. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions while we've got everybody here? Any comments? Any announcements? Okay. Well, oh yeah, Glenn. Oh, the question was, are we going to be in the other room next month? And the answer is, yeah, we're not actually here right now. Apparently, according to their schedule, we don't exist. So it is 2100 hours, and we'll see if they come to close the building or not, or whatever. Yeah. So as a reminder, new Zoom link. It is on the website. It is in the scope. Hopefully, everybody got that. And meeting location will either be here or over there. I mean, it's the same, general parking area. So. If we think we know, it'll be on the webpage. And hopefully we can get that straightened out with the city before next month. We may decide to move back over to the senior center, but we'll make sure we have enough notice if we do that. It's across the street anyways. We'll be somewhere within a few blocks of here. Maybe on the baseball field over there. I mean, who knows? Maybe in the summer. Yes. Sure. The question is there a plan to do some sort of video tutorial on YouTube or something? Yes. So Bruno says, yes, that's in the plans. Yeah. So and we do record the meetings, and they are currently on my computer at home. I have a project to get them into YouTube so that we can go back and look at meetings. But yeah, if we do something like that, it'll be sure to get on, and links will be in scope. Anything else? All right, fantastic. Thank you, 7-3, everybody, and we'll see you next month.
Good job, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.